What's up, fellow lords of gaming, and welcome back to another episode of Marvel Future Revolution. So today what I wanted to do was jump into dev note number 7. I'm going to try to do this in a different way. Instead of reading through the patch notes for you guys, you get to hear my soothing voice. Let's jump in. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible as well. There's a couple of things that were mentioned in dev note number 7 that are of importance to most players, and I'm going to break those down so that way you don't have to see me read through it and we can get through this as quick as possible. Number 1, there was no roadmap on the character development, so we have no idea about who is coming to us in the future or when we could expect them. I think most players will be disappointed in this because having at least an understanding of who's coming so we can prepare for those is a big thing about this game, especially with the time that it takes to develop and level a character in this game. But there's more on that in here. So it's really funny because the main issue spoken about here was the hero balance patch. In my opinion, it missed the point because it ignored how characters were actually used in the game versus how they saw how characters were used in the game. And I think this is a problem because the development team, at least from my perspective, has shown that they don't really understand the way the game is actually played and how elements actually work versus what they implement. There doesn't seem to be a lot of play testing on their part, in my opinion. There's a lot of lack of reception to actual player feedback is what I'm talking about there. There's a general lack of understanding about the pay model. Now, the development team that develops the game may not be responsible for the marketing of the game and understanding how the pay model works, or addressing the pay model, but they have to be understanding how that reflects on the things that they are developing. And what I mean by that is they have the intent to, or they have this belief that they mention inside the dev note where they talk about they feel like players are increasing or developing multiple heroes. I don't know any player that is singly targeted at trying to develop multiple heroes, not by intent. That is better seen in transmutation and in the game, because players do not have that kind of money to support a pay model that invests in characters in the way that they seemingly think we are, where we're developing multiple characters. I've been a pay-to-play player and I've only developed one character, and that character's nowhere. Their model for developing characters does not support developing multiple characters, because the transmutation system, while good in its intention, is not good in terms of its implementation. I literally spent 8 million gold the other day just trying to get a card to roll a stat for Doctor Strange. There's not enough gold given in this game in order for that to be feasible. It's just not unless I'm purchasing gold expansion packs and things like that. And this is what I mean by a lack of understanding of the pay model. We'll get more into that in a second. They also wanted to talk about the spawn information and trying to increase that time so that way people knew what to spawn. It looks like they have some intention of bringing an auto battle plus, so that way companion summons as well as ultimate skills were being used. I guarantee you that this is most likely going to come in some form of auto play plus, meaning we already have auto play, but I think this is going to be an auto play plus, and it's probably going to be a wallet driven feature. For instance, if you played games like Marvel Future Fight, you understand exactly what I mean by that. There is also a desire from the development team to bring a overall preset. So instead of you just having to switch out your battle badges and Omega cards and things like that, that you can go in here and you can add an overall preset. But they ignored the fact that we are also looking within inside those presets to have a specialization presets, because again, the implementation of having to change your specializations matters in this game as well. But they seem to ignore that. And then they brought up device storage. Obviously this game is graphically intense. It's obviously going to have large file sizes. I don't think anybody's unaware of this, because we've have other games that have gone through that same issue. it's going to be large file sizes the more detail you get inside of a game. So, but they are going to try to help address this. Now, they're talking about developing multiple heroes, and I don't understand who, because their intention is to raise the level cap to 120. But I ask a simple question: why? Right now at current, we're basically needing to raise our character from 103 to 110, and addressing and raising the cap to 120 doesn't address the main issue that we have here again, which is why the training time ticket and the training time zones exist in the first place, why we were nerfed in our time, and why the training time ticket has become a system of monetization. So the dev note, again, it ignores the main complaint of players. Now, I will say for the training time that it does offer some beneficial rewards, but the rewards are just not that great in terms of, what I have to spend in order to get that. And then you're talking about incentivizing these things inside the game as if they hold some monetary weight, when we know that this is a nerf and that you're basically selling us ways to level up our character. It makes no sense. So I don't understand why the 120 cap is needed when we don't even have a 110 blitz yet. And being that, it shows an imbalance in terms of that I shouldn't have to be 120 to compete or play a level 110 blitz. I should have to be level 110. So we are all already at 110. So adding Dark Domain, which only Dark Domain Part 2, when Dark Domain Part 1 only gets you to level 103, and then you basically sell away to get to 110, makes little sense. So basically you're selling us 7 levels through training time tickets because your story content only gets us to 103. Now you're going to add the Dark Domain Part 2, which is going to include 2 areas, which is the Netherworld, Niflheim, for Mephisto and Hela, to add some PvE story driven content, and adding a new 110 blitz. But there's no reason to get to 120 at all, other than for you to sell us more levels, because players are assumably going to be able to hit the 110 mark by playing their character through to the completion of Dark Domain Part 2. So now you have to add the 120 level in order to sell us more training time tickets. This is not in line with the player feedback that we've given across the community, which is dwindling and decreasing. When we talk about the increase in player cap, we're also talking about the increase in potential. So they mentioned that they wanted to increase potential and expand that. I don't know if that means more levels for your base kit's expansion. I'm not sure how that would work inside there. But we'll see. They're also talking about increasing the raid difficulty. So this would be good because the raid difficulty levels are clearly way outmatched compared to where players are currently sat in terms of their power levels. And I don't think that they actually thought players were going to get to these power levels this quickly. Especially a lot of people have characters that are already at caps for hero levels and things like that. But those raid difficulties, they intend to give away more convergium in order to mitigate the fail chance, which doesn't really make sense. How about you just remove the fail chance so that way I'm rewarded by doing this? What they intend to do is add something what I call is fail chance stacking, right? It's the same thing like Black Desert Online, where the RNG nature still needs to be in as a part of the game, but they're going to add a fail chance stacking. So presumably, after a first fail, your fail chance will decrease basically, and you'll have a higher chance of completing it. The last few things that they talked about in here was the expedition and expedition modes and armory. Basically, these are auto missions, so that way you can have characters complete missions on autoplay without having to actually play the missions. And the armory was a way to increase storage capacity for Omega cards and inventory slots. The biggest things that they mentioned inside here, and the most tone deaf of them all, were alliance-based PvE content boss battles. So this was going to be like a stage boss battle event for the entire alliance to compete in. If you played a game like DC Legends, then you know what this is. Basically, like DC Legends rotates in new bosses for the alliances to play, and I am not excited to see this come to this game because I know what this essentially means. What this will essentially mean is another monetization wheel for them. If you've played DC Legends or haven't played DC Legends, go log into there so that way you can see. The same way I told you guys that you know, 7 Deadly Sins was where they brought in the invasion mode from, and that players would eventually get bored of them because the events run too long, is the same reason why I notice this here. Go play DC Legends, log into that, see what the alliance boss battles are, and you will quickly understand how the monetization wheel will work for that, and it's going to be added in this game. It's going to be terrible. It's a terrible model. Now the difference is that DC Legends is still at its heart a gacha game in terms of character release, so they won't be able to, you know, sell you on trying to get characters, but they will sell you on some other kind of monetization will. Lastly, the one that's seen the most tone deaf of player feedback overall is squad battle PvP. I told you guys this was eventually going to come, where they were going to institute some kind of way for your squad to actually battle other squads. Well, this is basically an incentive for whales to move to other heroes and spend just as much cash on those heroes, and this is where I think the game will ultimately fail. I hate to say that and be truthful about that, but at current, there's no reason for players to develop multiple heroes in the game. You basically need one hero because the time that you invest in these characters is extensive, it's exhaustive. In order for you to get one piece of level 6 gear that you can nano fuse, it's going to require a lot, and I do mean a lot. This is a really good H piece right here. I hate that it has HP, but this is a good piece. It is going to require a lot. I mean, like, in order to get one piece of 6-star gear so that way you can nano fuse your thing, you're looking at having over 10,000 pieces of 1-star gear. The time that it would take you to level up all 6-star pieces of gear is more than a year. At that rate, you do not have time to invest in multiple other characters. That's just what it is. So it is what it is. There is no room in this game for players to actually invest in multiple characters. You might be able to do one or two where you will have a really strong character and a really weak character, but you do not have the investment to actually do that. If you did, you basically be spending $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 a year on this game plus, because if you look at the investment wheel that some of the players have put in, especially the whales, to put into characters individually, Iron Mans and so forth like that, and keeping up with the power levels that are, you know, for the game, so that way they can compete in PvP, Alliance, Omega War, and stuff like that, you will see that it is a huge investment. We have consistently talked on this channel about the time to invest in a character inside the game and the paywall monetization of the Marvel Mall, and how it's either you can't dip your toes in, it's all in or nothing. And this is the most tone deaf, because this is a clear drive towards incentivizing whales and whales alone, because most players are not going to be able to do this, to incentivize whales to invest dollars across their squad, meaning, hey, level up Doctor Strange, level up this person, level up that person. Lastly, we'll finish out with that, since you guys know I mostly finish out on Doctor Strange. They did discuss talking about improving some of Doctor Strange's combative abilities inside the game, although I think they missed the mark completely on him in patch 7, in the recent hero balance patch. I feel like they're still going to miss the patch, because their intent was to drive home a poll, right? And this poll is everything that should let you know about how tone deaf they are and not really paying attention to player feedback. They're asking, what is your most anticipated update from dev note number 7? Well, we don't have an idea of what the Alliance content expansion is, because you tell us in your dev note, hey, we don't know what this is to tell you enough. We haven't developed enough to tell you what it is. The Pegasus base and squad battle, you haven't told us enough about what this is and how it's going to look for us to be in. So obviously everyone will most likely choose Netherworld and Niflheim because it's the only solid thing that you introduce in a dev note with 100% solid implementation ideas in terms of what you're going to do. We don't know in order to put a poll on this. This poll will not address what it is. What you need is community engagement and interaction. So there needs to be a community manager inside here, but that's what you're I don't even know what the hell they call it. They're content creators for their content creator core. That's what that is supposed to do, right? It's supposed to be a way to outreach. But essentially what their content creator core has been moot point. It is literally, no offense to anybody involved in the content creator core. You can see right there goes a poll results, because nobody else can tell you what the hell these things are. The content creator core has been a moot point in this game. So I don't know, guys. I'm not necessarily happy about dev note number 5, the dev note number 7. It reeks of more tone deafness, and it doesn't address anything that players want, especially with no sight in terms of who characters really want to play, when those character contents are coming to the game. So we'll end up having to see how that plays out. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know in the comment sections what you think about dev note number 7. Please remember, like and subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell if you're interested in new channel content and what's coming up next. Until next time, peace.